I was recently working on building the front end for a reservation module of a restaurant finder and booking web app. The biggest challenge of the reservation component is in its visual appearance because it has its own calendar as well as a user input form. So it needs a lot of CSS styling. Um, in order to build out all of the styles, I was initially using, a CSS document. However, when we combined all of our services and components with my other team members, there was the potential for sharing class names and having conflicting CSS styles. So we needed to implement a solution in order to manage our class names and styles. And we researched different libraries, namely CSS modules and styled components. Since I'm already using React components, it made sense to adopt style components, which would easily integrate into my code. And since I also had to use conditional styling in my reservation calendar, it was also very useful. So beforehand, I was doing this conditional styling within my HTML divs, and it was very difficult to follow and very repetitive. So after implementing styled components, I could easily display dates from the previous and next month in different colored backgrounds. And it would automatically restyle because the style components had access to my components props and states. So it would change upon every re-render. Um, so after I finished my component, the other issue that I had was in its page speed load. Because of the complexity of my component, it compiles into a really large bundle file, over 1 GB. And in Google Page Speed Analyzer, I received a low score of a 16. And the biggest place for improvement was in my bundle file size. So I researched how to compress the bundle file and found two good solutions. The first was to minify the text of the bundle file, and the second was the compression package for NPM. And after implementing these solutions, I drastically improved my page speed load. But before that happened, I ran into a lot of errors, and it took me a little bit of debugging to figure it out what was happening. And the minify strategy that I was using was simply to run my Webpack and in production mode. And I didn't realize that I was running in development in other places. And so when I ended up rebuilding my module, there were many small errors because of that. And then it took me to go through all of my code again in the HTML index files and index.html files to see where these inconsistencies were coming from. And then I realized that it was because the CDN files that I was importing were using development mode. And so as soon as I changed those to production, then everything worked and flowed back to normal. And as I said, my page speed loads drastically went up from a low of 16 to 99. So it was a really great experience getting to build out this really complex module.